back at it here in Ohio. It's November 2nd. Yesterday morning, we had a great morning. Ended up passing on a decent 8-pointer and a really good, like, six-point frame. I thought he was 8-pointer, but when I went back and looked at the footage last night, I think he's like a 6-point frame with some junk on it. He was a big 6-pointer. I'd shoot him all day. I had him at 42 yards. Just wasn't worth it. Back in the same stand this morning. It's cold again. It's 36 degrees. A little colder, couple degrees colder than yesterday morning. I got in the stand about an hour ago. It's just now getting light enough. Last 10 minutes, light enough to see. But there's a lot of deer movement going on before light. In the dark, I had a deer walk through this woodlot behind me at probably 40, 50 yards, and then I could hear deer walking around out in the cattails a couple different times. I don't know, it could have been the same deer, but hopefully the rutting action continues today. I got a little work to do today, but I brought my laptop, so I can do it in the truck during my lunch break. Shouldn't take me more than an hour to get it done. I'm gonna settle in here and see what happens. Wish me luck. So I keep seeing a lot of deer movement. I've seen 3 or 4 bucks now. Oh, here comes one. Hang on. This is the spot. All these little bucks are just kind of walking around aimlessly with their noses to the ground, hoping they run into something. Besides that mature buck that was chasing the doe yesterday, the oldest deer I saw was probably that 3-year-old 8. He might have been 2.5, but he did what I expect these more mature deer to do. Be a lot more deliberate in their search. Walking a straight line, hitting scrapes, and checking for does. What I've noticed is these young bucks will tend to look for ground scent a lot more. They'll just kind of walk with their heads to the ground, smelling the leaves, stop, and they smell a doe track, they'll follow it, and then it doesn't lead anywhere. They lose it, or they find the doe and she's not in heat, and then they come circling back through, and then I've seen the same 2 or 3 small bucks, 2 or 3 times between yesterday morning and today, where these big bucks, they've learned to use the wind to their advantage a lot more. And I see them being a lot more deliberate, a lot more straight line when they're cruising. A big mature buck is never gonna just be wandering around aimlessly with his nose to the ground like these little bucks are. Every big buck I've ever seen during the rut, this time of year, or the pre-rut, whatever you want to call it, has been on a straight line. They know exactly where they're going. They're using the wind to their advantage to scent check bedding areas from downwind. And that's what I'm hoping to take advantage of today. This straight line travel along this transition corridor between bedding areas. It's still pretty early. It's only 9:30. It's the rut. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of boredom, followed by intense excitement, followed by more boredom. I'll take it. So I'm back here at my Stark property, going after the wide 8. We got a southwest wind today for this afternoon. I got in here, it's kind of blowing northwest, which is honestly better, believe it or not, because I believe sometimes these bucks will bed on this property north of the property I can hunt. It's mostly clear cut, especially when it's really wet and the swamp is flooded out. I think they would prefer bedding in this drier clear cut than bedding in the swamp. But that's neither here nor there. So I'm coming in from the other access to the west. And I have a camera over here, and this is on a scrape that I made a couple years ago, and I've just kind of kept it going with a grapevine. I want to check that camera, and this is where I got pictures of the Big 8. Oh gosh. And this is where I got pictures of the Big 8 and pretty decent, I think a 10-pointer back when he was losing his velvet. But that's the only picture I've had on this property of that buck. But I assume he's still hanging around somewhere. If not, he may swing back through because it is November 2nd. So, I'm gonna slide in here, pull this card, check this camera really quick, and then kind of make a last-second decision on what I want to do for this evening. So I got my stand on my back. Hopefully that buck's been in here. We'll see. So I checked that camera, and that Big 8 has been in here, but only once, I think on the 26th or something. There's been a couple other bucks. There's one other decent, 130s looking buck that was in here a few days ago at night, but most of the sign is just that at night. I'm feeling like this is just a little too close to these cut crop fields for these big boys to be moving yet. So what I'm gonna do, and I'm dealing with some pretty dry leaves, but what I'm gonna do is just kind of take a little bit of a walk and go as slow as I can, see if I can't find me some really good sign and just hang and hunt. I like knowing that that buck's in here, but like I said, it's just not quite what I was looking for. So I'm gonna move in a little deeper and see what happens. Alright guys, well, I'm all set up for the afternoon. I ended up in kind of a weird spot. I'm not too pumped about it, but we'll see what happens. It's about 3:30 already. I got here at 2-ish, maybe 1:50, and got back in here, checked my camera, and originally I was going to hang a stand right over that scrape, and I started doing it. And 3 or 4 toms came in and kind of surprised me, and I had about 10-15 minutes to think about it, and I decided, I didn't have any daylight pictures of any big bucks at that scrape. The wide 8 hadn't hit that scrape since like the 26th or something like that, so I imagine he's probably with a doe or off somewhere looking for does, or he's just not that interested in that scrape. One of the 3, I guess. But I decided, you know what, I'm gonna pack everything back up, and I'm gonna do some scouting and look for some really hot sign and try to put myself in a spot, a little out of my comfort zone, I guess. So I ended up walking damn near most of the farm. This is the last probably 15 acres that I haven't touched up here to the north of me and to the west of me. There's a big chunk down to the south that this canal connects that I haven't walked either, which is kind of why I decided to set up here. There's a couple rubs. There's one really good rub about 50 yards in the woods here. But essentially, this is kind of just like a kind of a pinch point, I guess. There's a canal that runs kind of northwest to southeast on this property. It kind of cuts it in half almost. I've hunted for the wide-8 twice now on this property, but it's always been on the other side of the canal. And I've only hunted this property on east winds so far. Well, we got a west wind today, so I came in from the east. And now I'm on this side of the canal. And originally when I decided to take a walk, I had a place in mind where I wanted to set. I did not account for the fact that the canal is not crossable right now. It's probably 3 foot deep. And I did not bring waders. So what I ended up doing is just kind of, I backed off the canal about 50 yards and I just kind of walked up through this grass all the way up to this woodlot, where this woodlot is kind of pinched together and the canal crosses right through it. So there is a couple crossings out here in front of me, and there's a couple trails running parallel with the canal. Besides that, there's not a lot of sign on this whole farm. I looked for rubs, scrapes. I found some, but nothing hot, nothing that really got my, heart going. I'm pretty tired. I'm gonna try and stay awake this afternoon. Hopefully these deer are moving. 'Cause I only got half a Coke and a cookie to keep me awake. Be a lesson. If you run into some turkeys, buy a damn tag. That's the same 4 jigs I just saw earlier. Literally walked right under my stand. Could have smoked them. I could really go for some turkey. Well, guys, I think that's gonna about do it here for November 2nd. Pretty eventful evening. Just no big bucks. Saw one small buck way off. I didn't get video of him earlier. And then, obviously those turkeys. That's the first thing I'm doing when I get home is buying that tag. And then saw a beaver, and I'm pretty sure I heard some chasing going on the other side of the creek here. I couldn't tell if it was that or those turkeys flying up, which I almost think that's what it was. But I got a really long walk out of here, so I'm gonna start packing up and get on back to the missus. She's got breakfast, dinner cooking, so I'm kind of excited for that. I'll be back at it early tomorrow morning, so see what happens. Thanks for watching.